It's a new year, and why not start the year by learning one of the greatest jazz standards of all time, All the Things You Are. Now, this song is an important one to learn. It can really teach us a lot about harmony, and I'll break that down in this lesson. And I remember personally this song being a big breakthrough for me in understanding harmony and how chords work typically in jazz standards. Because the movements in the chords and the melody are very typical of many other tunes, and for that reason it's a great one to work on, and it also works really well as a solo guitar piece. Before we dive into the lesson, just a little reminder of my 7 steps to learning jazz standards, and that always starts with listening. Now, each month on Patreon, I put a listening playlist for the standard of the month, and there's a link in the description to my Patreon. I think we should start first by me playing through a rendition against the changes once through, so you can get a sense of the form and the sound of the chords and the head. And I'm just playing to an iReal Pro backing track here, played on this 1983 Epiphone Emperor made in Japan through the Quilter Tone Block 202. Things You Are was written in 1939 with the music by Jerome Kern and beautiful lyrics by Oscar Hammerstein II. And like many of the songs from the time period, it was written for a musical one called Very Warm for May. I don't think that was a particularly successful musical, which is not uncommon for some of these great jazz standards where they started out, but it is today one of the most recorded jazz songs, and it's definitely in the category I would place as must know. And I think it says a lot about a jazz standard when it doesn't fall out of popularity throughout the different eras, throughout. As the genre has changed and evolved into different subgenres, this song has remained popular. Considering the form, this song is a little different in that it is 36 bars in length as opposed to the usual 32 bars that we often get. Form-wise, you can look at it in a couple ways. I think of it as A1, A2, B and A3, with those first 3 sections being 8 bars in length and the final section being 12. The standard key for this one is A flat major, but I will just say this song does get the nickname All the Chords You Are, which does indicate there's a bit more to this one than just a song in A flat major. So on to the chord voicings for this song. One thing I've introduced on my Patreon new for 2025 is comping at different levels 1, 2 and 3. And this is to make things more accessible, also to help people develop their chord playing. And I've made this video at level 1. Level 1 for me is just simple 3-note voicings. So say A flat major 7 would be this. That's one way of doing it. These 3-note voicings just have the root 3rd and 5th, and we are omitting the 5th. And I think when getting into jazz, some people might try and take like traditional guitar shapes like bar chords and so forth, when really kind of less is more, and 3-note voicings work just fine. So I've written a chart with just 3-note voicings. Obviously you could, change that up to 4-note voicings if you prefer for a bit more richness, but I'm just trying to keep things simple as a nice base to start from. Now, if you would like the PDF for the song, the chords and the harmonic analysis, which is coming later, they are on the lowest tier of my Patreon page. The A section begins on an F minor 7 here off the A string. We've got a bar of that, then we move to B flat minor 7 for a bar, and then E flat 7, and that draws us to A flat major 7, so that's our one chord. takes us to D flat major 7, to G7, to C major 7. And there's a couple points of resolution there, like you start out there's the first one, and the G7 sets up the next one when we get there. And I would suggest trying to play it as I am there, just that nice simple 4 to the bar feel, but then just pick out the notes also. Just observe the sound of it. Obviously you could use whatever chord voicings you want, you don't have to stick to what I've got. You can try different things is what I'm saying. A2 starts out on C minor 7, moves us up to F minor 7, back to that chord we started out on. Then we go to B flat 7, takes us to E flat major 7, A flat major 7 again, and then we get 2 chords in this bar, A minor 7, D7 to G major 7, and that's where we're resolving at the end of that section. So C minor 7, F minor 7, B flat 7 dominant, E flat major 7, A flat major 7, A minor 7 flat 5 D7, G major 7, and then the last 2 beats we're going to put an E7. And you may want to there, if you wish, the A minor 7 flat 5 is I've done as a 3-note voicing just to keep things really simple for you, but you might want to add the flat 5 on the top to really capture the character of that chord, so then you get. And I quite like making this E7 and E7 sharp 9 a Hendrix chord, so it kind of just adds a little bit of more tension if you like. The B section then starts out on A minor 7, goes to D7, to G major 7 for 2 bars. And then F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7, going to E major 7, and the last bar C7. So A minor 7, D7, then 2 bars resolution on G. And then we're on the run again. F sharp, B7, E major 7, C7. And again, pick the notes. Just to check your chord work's good first, you know. But just to get a feel for the sound of the chords, that would be the B section. Now, a couple things there. I would, I've kept it 3-note voicings, but, the odd chord which is off, kind of needs its flat 5, I feel like, is the F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Instead of doing the 3-note voicing, you could add the flat 5 in for a bit more character. And the C7 I like to play as a C7 sharp 5, like this. Just because it kind of creates this nice odd feel that sets up the tension to resolve into the next section. So keep it as 3 notes if you want. You can obviously use whatever voicings you like, but I've put this together to be simple and kind of kind movements if you like. A3 is 12 bars long. We start out on F minor 7, going back to B flat minor 7. So this is like the first A section. E flat 7 to A flat major 7. So this is identical to the opening. And then D flat major 7. The change comes here. We go to G flat 7. I love this change. And I'm going to go C minor 7. And this beautiful fall to B diminished, setting up the end of resolution. B flat minor 7. E flat 7. A flat major 7. You'd finish there if it was the end of the song, but if you're going around again for solos, G minor 7 flat 5 to C7. So let me play that for you. F minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7 to A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G flat 7, C minor 7, B diminish, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7, G minor 7, C7, then you're good to go again. And again, there's a couple chords there you might play as you might want to try as 4-note voicings. Certainly the G minor 7 flat 5 you could do as we did with the A. I suggested with the A minor 7 flat 5 earlier. So at level 1, I think you should be able to play through the changes in time and be reliable with that and have nice, clear sounding chords and not have any ones you fumble. And that might take individual work for you personally on certain chord changes with the metronome, just figuring out the best fingering for yourself and just working on that movement until it gets quicker. And obviously also learning to memorize it, which we'll come to, but let me put the metronome on and demonstrate that once all the way through. I'll just shout out the sections. 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. A2. B section. C section. Then we'd be round to go again. As I said at the top of this video, this song really offers a lot of points of learning, things that can really help you with learning other songs. And sometimes this song gets referred to as All the Chords You Are because it has a lot of chords and it changes key a few times. Now I'll break down all of that for you, and I think there are some really beautiful harmonic moves in this song. It really does, well, it's grabbed me certainly, and I've always loved this song. The key when looking at anything like this is not getting lost in every chord and to see bigger structures to help you notice what key you're in. When looking at a song, the first thing to consider is the key we're in and what chords that key yields. So we're in A flat major, that's the parent key of the song if you like. We're going to start from there, move away from that and work our way back to it. And there's 4 flats in the key signature for A flat. You have the major scale being A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F and G. If we harmonise that into the 7 chords, we would get chord 1, A flat major 7. So that's home. Chord 2, B flat minor 7. Chord 3, C minor 7. Chord 4, D flat major 7. Chord 5, E flat 7. Chord 6, F minor 7. Chord 7, G minor 7 flat 5. And I've got to play chord 1 again to resolve there, back to home. Important thing to pick out from that also is the all-important, most common progression we get in jazz, and that's the 2-5-1. So in that case, that would be B flat minor 7, E flat 7 to A flat major 7. Now let's take that information, look at the first A section. So the opening 8 bars we had F minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G7 to C. Now we can see our 2-5-1 here. We've got the B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7. And that's what I mean about picking out bigger structures rather than getting bogged down with chord to chord. We start out on chord 6. So the opening 4 bars is 6, 2, 5, 1. We then move to chord 4. And we then get the G7, which is a chord which is clearly leading us elsewhere. And if you come across a dominant besides the primary dominant, chord 5, in this key, E flat, then it's the secondary dominant, like this G7. G7 is the dominant in the key of C, and that is where it leads us for a, albeit temporary, resolution. And personally, I really love there the change from D flat major 7 to G7. It's a really neat move. The interval between those 2 chords is a tritone and it works because of shared notes. D flat major 7, D flat, F, A flat and C, G7, G, B, D, F. So they've got that F note as a note which is shared between the two, and it's also because of the notes which are nice and close to one another. The D flat resolves up to a D if you like, the F is the shared note, A flat resolves down to the G, and the C does that all important fall down to the third of the G7, which is a B. So what we've got happening there is a really neat move going between D flat and G7. The A section starts out in A flat and finishes in C. And I'm always listening out for a resolution, and the resolutions come on the A flat and on the C. So, that's the key thing really, is to listen to the harmony, not just play it, but really listen to how it's working and what the function is of each chord. Let's move on to A2. C minor 7 to F minor 7. B flat 7 to E flat major 7. A flat major 7. A minor 7 flat 5. D7, G major 7. With the E7 at the end. Firstly, coming from the previous bar, we've done a really nice move, which is going from major to minor. We've finished the A section on C major, then gone to C minor. And that's always a really nice, dramatic move. One thing just to notice, also by the sound, without any theory, is that this second A section sounds very, very similar to the movements in A1. First A section finished in C major 7, we resolved to there. But that movement to the minor means we're going elsewhere. And the first thing to do is kind of play the chords and listen where the chords resolve. There, on the E flat. And then on the G major 7. And I'm on the lookout again for these 2-5-1s, right? And there's two 2-5-1s in this section. We've got F minor 7, B flat 7 to E flat major 7, so that's a 2-5-1 in E flat major, and then we've got the A minor 7 flat 5 D7 G, also being a 2-5-1, albeit with a minor 7 flat 5 chord is chord 2. Taking this first bit as being an E flat major, and that C minor 7, like the F minor 7 at the very beginning, is chord 6 in the key of E flat major 7. So the opening in this section is going 6, C minor 7, 2, 5, 1 to E flat, and then we have a 2-5 in G, like that. So it's two keys within that section, like in the first section. So again, like the D flat major to G7 in A1, the move between A flat major 7 and A flat minor and A minor 7 flat 5, is a nice move that works because of shared notes and close resolves. That's a real nice point. A flat major 7 being A, C, E flat, G, and A minor 7 flat 5 just having one note different and being A, C, E flat, G. So super close. So I think we got to this point, the end of the second A section. We should summarise what keys we've been through. We started out in A flat, then we finished the A section in C major, very briefly. Then we moved to the key of E flat major, and now we're in G. And the neat thing about this is that spells out the notes of an A flat major 7 chord. A flat C, E flat G. And I've always thought that's really clever. Whether it's intentional, who knows? Now the E7 at the end of the A section is simply another secondary dominant, and you just need to know where E7 is the 5 chord, right? And it's the 5 chord in the key of A and A minor. So it's going to set up going to that chord, just a nice way to move into the B section with a bit of style. And that B section goes A minor 7, D7 to G major 7, and then F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7 to E major 7, then to C7. Again, I'm on the hunt out listening to when things resolve, and also for 2-5-1s. And straight away, A minor 7, D7, we've got a 2-5-1 there in G major. And then we've got one in E major, again, albeit with the 2 played as a minor 7 flat 5 chord. And then the C7 right at the end there, that is the dominant chord in the key of F. Another secondary dominant, and that's an important chord. That is the dominant in the key of F and F minor, and the first chord in the next section is F minor 7, so it's going to help us go back to that. Now, if some of this you aren't understanding, probably the big gap in your knowledge is the 2-5-1. One of the things that really helped me understand jazz is just learning the 2-5-1 in all keys. That makes just learning standards, understanding them so much easier. Instead of thinking chord to chord, you think in blocks, and that makes things easier to learn, easier to remember, and you get used to certain patterns and shapes on the fretboard where it all kind of just falls into place. Now that final A section, the 12 bar section, starts on F minor 7. Let's play it through. B flat minor 7, E flat 7, resolving to A flat, moving to D flat. So this is the same as the opening A section, but instead of a G7 we get G flat 7. Beautiful move. Then C minor 7 falling down to B diminished, and then B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major, resolving there. And then if you were to go around again, you set up this G minor 7 flat 5 to C7. Hopefully you recognise here that this starts out the same as the first A, giving us 6, 2, 5, 1, 4. And then we get another out of key chord, we get another secondary dominant, G flat 7. In the key of A flat, which we're back in by the way, this is a common out of key chord. It's known as the backdoor dominant, or the flat 7-7, a dominant chord, a tone below the root of the key you're in. So we're in A flat, the flat 7-7 would be on G flat. It also, for me, has a bluesy quality because we've come from D flat. If you played a blues in D flat, the 4 chord would be G flat, so it creates that feeling you get from that change of 1 to 4 in a blues. Once we're on that G flat 7, then we then do quite an interesting move. We then go a tritone away to a C minor 7, which then beautifully falls, my favourite moment in the song, to a diminished chord off a B. Now a B is sandwiched between B flat and C, which is where the 2 and the 3 chord in the key of A flat built, B flat minor 7 and C minor 7. And that's why we're going to call this a flat 3 diminished, which falls down neatly to chord 2, listen, into our 2-5-1. And now after we resolve to A flat, like I say, if you want to go round again, you play G minor 7 flat 5 to C7. And why you do that? That's because that's a minor 2-5-1 from F minor. But just to summarise, this song starts out in A flat. End of the A section resolves to C major. Second A section, we are in E flat major. We resolve to G by the end of it. We then have a 2-5-1 in G and a 2-5-1 in E. We're then back to the parent key of A flat major 7 and stay there just with a few out of key chords. Now that was a lot of theory, it's all very well, but it really has to be paired with learning to hear the points of resolution, as I've stressed throughout the video, and the effect the dominant chords have, where they're trying to drag us. Now, in my 7 steps to learning jazz standards, I really do stress the importance of just listening a lot to tunes. Maybe before you spend loads of time working on them, just spend a good chunk of time listening to them. It's so important to internalise the sound of the chord changes and the melody, and hearing those movements and where the song resolves and moves and the points you like as well. And that's, for me, is when a song becomes more than just names of chords and your understanding of a song goes to a deeper level. But just to say, lastly, I should say, thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave a comment if you've got any questions, anything you want to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them in the comment section. And don't forget, uploads on now on Mondays. Until next time, you take care.